Hi everybody, and welcome to another One History Help video with me, Mrs. O'Neill. The video we're going to be having a look at today is one of the biggest concerns I feel that GCSE historians have, which is how can I remember dates? I totally sympathise because we do go through a lot of different dates, and sometimes it's about knowing which ones are the most significant ones that we need to remember, and also it's about being kind of nice to ourselves really in the process of getting those dates into our brains. The video that I put on here for you today is taken from my Instagram TV account from a live broadcast that I did earlier on this summer.
Hi everybody, good afternoon and welcome to this week's Instagram live video, which is going to be all about techniques that you can use to help you remember dates. In all of my years of being a history teacher, the main thing that I am asked by people is, how do we remember dates? And it's one of those things that's quite unique to history because it can feel quite overwhelming, all the dates that you need to remember. And the honest truth is I really wish there was a kind of magic wand that I could wave and you would suddenly remember all of the dates that you need for your course. But it really isn't that simple. It's not that straightforward, unfortunately. Not even your history teachers, like my good self, for instance, have had the some kind of magic spell put upon them and they're able to remember dates. It purely comes from repetition. That's how your history teachers give the impression that they know all of these dates. What are you going to need for this little kind of Instagram live thingamajig? Starts off with something very basic, which is, ideally, you don't have to though, is a piece of card. Card works better in my opinion, but paper can work just as fine as well. You're going to need some scissors as well. Those are my mighty kitchen scissors. Obviously normal paper scissors will do absolutely fine. Ideally, scissors are great as well. As always, if you want some different coloured pens, I've switched to these ones today as opposed to my usual ones, which I normally use for our broadcast, because these ones here, these ones actually bleed through onto through the other side of paper and card. So these aren't great. These ones are much better. For that in mind, so they're the ones that I'm going to be using today. As well as that, you are going to need, so I've got scissors, coloured pens, card ideally, but paper will work just as well too. You are going to need, and then I'm going to give you some options here. So like a sandwich bag, a couple of sandwich bags. These are ones that I just kind of had lying around my house, or something like these little envelopes. Okay, I will talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Right, I'm just going to pop the equipment to one side and we're going to get started, and I'll bring all these different bits and bobs back as we go on. So pop my card and my scissors to one side, because the very first thing you need to do before you start chopping up bits of card or anything like that is you need to know what are the dates that you actually need to remember. And the best thing that you can do, first of all, is to, here's one I made earlier, create a list of dates. Gosh, that is really blurry. How can I change that? Maybe if I bring it a little bit closer. There we go. So make a list of dates. Okay, so this is ones, some of them that I've done for the USA course. Oh, I can't kind of, let me stand this side and I can kind of show you them there. There we go. You'll notice that actually for some of them, I haven't got the dates down because they were ones I just didn't know off the top of my head. And they were ones I would have to go away and look into in more detail. So there's some of them for America. And if I flip it over, I've also come up with a list for medicine as well. And again, you'll see there's a couple of gaps on there, because again, there's some that I just can't remember off the top of my head, but the rest of them that I can remember off the top of my head, I've popped in there as well. So come up with a list of the dates that you need first of all. I've just done medicine and I've done America. For the vast majority of you, you will have 4 different sections for your course, and it's worthwhile. This is the kind of thing that I would recommend that you start doing right at the beginning of your GCSE. Now, for some of you are going to be thinking, well, thanks a lot, Mrs. O'Neill. I'm not at the beginning of my GCSE at all. I'm actually quite far into it. But it's something that you can start to do when you're starting a new topic, is get a piece of paper, maybe in the back of your history book, and every time you come across a date in your lesson, write it down. So start to develop that timeline. If you look at my timeline here, you'll notice mine aren't necessarily even in order. So it's all about having the dates down there that you actually need to use. So when I kind of did a little trial run of this yesterday, I did medicine dates, but I think I'm actually going to do, some America ones. for the little demonstration I want to give you today. So I've got my list of dates. I know what I need to remember. By the way, if you're looking at this and thinking, oh my gosh, that is a lot of dates. Yeah, you're right. It's history. There's a lot of dates that you need to remember. But I'm going to talk you through actually the way that you kind of go through the process in your brain to get you to remember them. And it's really not as overwhelming as you think it is, I promise. Okay, like I said, it's not about waving a magic wand and suddenly being able to do it, but I do promise you that there is a way that you can build up to being able to remember the dates off the top of your head. Now, let's get into some actual making a piece of card stuff, shall we? Do you know what's beautiful about this is, you know, if I was creating this to use with a group of students, like if I was going to use this in a lesson, I'm not going to lie, I would cut them out to perfection. Like, you know, I would be very, very strict in terms of how big the boxes, how big the bits of card were and things like that. But because this is something I'm just using on my own, I'm not too bothered. Okay, so here we go. What we're going to do is we are going to cut across to create a long strip from this card. And I'm going to be very careful, mindful of my my injury on my thumb. Well done, Mrs. O'Neill. Okay, there we go. So I've got something that is roughly about, what's that? Oh my gosh, I'm notoriously bad at distance. Let's say, I think that's about about 3 or 4 centimetres in length there in terms of width. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to literally chop these up into cards of roughly that size. And again, it's just for me. Okay, and if you're thinking like making this for yourself, I know a lot of you out there are big time perfectionists and I can identify with that, but trust me, it really doesn't matter if they're not all exactly the same size. Okay, la 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 la, chop chop chop, here we go. And essentially that's how many I've got from just one of those strips, and I keep on going until, in true Blue Peter style, here's some I made earlier, I have loads of them. All right, so let me just tip these out here. These are all blank ones. Oop. No, that was closed, that's open, there we go. I might well have a history degree, but opening a plastic sandwich bag seems to be quite challenging for me. Right, here we go, look at all of these are literally just blank. And look, they're all random different shapes and sizes and things like that. But that doesn't matter because I am the only person who is going to be using these. All right, and what I'm going to do is, for the purpose of the task, is I'm going to very, very roughly just divide this because what we are going to do is we are effectively going to be creating a card sort. Because when it comes to working with dates, it's not about remembering the exact date straight away. That is sometimes where people feel a lot of pressure, is I've got to know that exact date straight away. Eventually, yes, you are going to need to know the exact dates, but the first thing that I always recommend that you need to do is to know what order they come in first. And after you've done that, then you can start to think about what are the dates that are needed. Okay, so there are going to be 2 separate sets of these cards, and I'm just going to put one set just to one side for a second. Okay, so we are going to do just a couple of dates. Now, I'm just going to do a few, but obviously when you make your cards, you're going to do all of the dates that you need. And for America, I need the following number of decades: 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. So I need 5 different colours. So I'm going to go with pink. I'm going to go with blue for 2. Let's go green for 3. Orange for 4. And let's go for red for 5. They're not too similar, are they? No, they'll be clear enough. And I have very intentionally here not picked anything like black or grey. And you'll see why a little bit later on. So let's do red pen for 1920s. And all of the dates for 1920s are going to be written in this red pen. Let me take one of these pieces of card. Again, I'm really sorry this keeps going in and out of focus. I need to learn how to do that better. Right, the first one from the 1920s is going to be everybody's favourite, the Wall Street crash. So on the front of this piece of card, that's exactly what I'm going to write. Wall Street crash. Okay, there we go. Just bring that up a little bit closer so we can see that there. Wall Street crash. And then on the other side, I'm going to write the date of the Wall Street crash, again in this pen. And we all know the date of the Wall Street crash because it is the same day and year that it happens. It's up to you how you want to write it. I'm going to write it in terms of a short-term date. So the 29th of October, 1929. Okay, so turn it over again. Wall Street crash on one side, and on the other side is the date. All right, so there's one for the 1920s. Let's have a look. Oh, the next one I had for 1920s was the execution of Sacco and Vanzetti. Now, the card I have chosen to pick up for this task is pretty small, so I might not fit it on completely. So I'm just going to say S and V executed. All right, and I know that this happens in the year 1928. So I've written the date on the back. Okay, I've written the date on the back. Next, let's do two from the 1930s. Let's go green for 1930s. Right, let's do the election of FDR. So election of FDR, so when Roosevelt is elected. Okay, again, I'll bring that a little bit closer so we can see it a little clearer there. Already got pen on my hand, fantastic. So election of FDR. On the other side, I know that that happens in the year 1932. 1932, okay, election of FDR. So notice 1921s are written in red, and these green ones here are for the 1930s. Let's do another 30s one. Let's do the Second New Deal. Second New Deal, which coincides with the same year that Roosevelt was re-elected. So Second New Deal, and I know that happens in 1936. Okay, so event on one side, date on the other. Event on one side, date on the other. Let's have a look at some 1940s bits and bobs, shall we? Let's go orange for 1940s, and let's do Pearl Harbor. Okay, so we'll do the bombing of Pearl Harbor. All right, and flipping that over, I know that this happens in December 1941. For the life of me, I can't remember what day. I want to say the 7th, but I'm going to leave it out for now. I can always go back, I can look into it, and I can add it to the top. So December 1941, okay. So notice again, 1920s are in red, 1930s are in green, and then, oh, here she comes, come back in. Thank you. And then 1940s are in blue. Let's do end of World War II. Okay, end of World War II. And now I'm going to be specific here to America. Now, the war in America finishes a couple of months after the war in Europe. So this end of World War II happens in August 1945. World War II ends in Europe in May 1945, but this is an America study, so I want to get the dates there. 1950s on here. Some 1950s, I'm going to use my blue pen for 1950s. Loads of dates I was able to remember for the 1950s. A lot of them especially to do with the civil rights movement. Let's do Brown versus Board of Education. Brown versus Board. And that was in 1954. Okay, again, event on the front, date on the back. And let's go for Little Rock High School. So Little Rock in Arkansas, and I know that was in 1957. Okay, so again, there we go. Hopefully we're still seeing all of these okay. There we go, just kind of arranging them together. Now let's just do two, and again, remember, I'm just doing two here to show you, just doing two to show you. All right, you would obviously do more than that. Let's do two for the 1960s. Actually, one of them I'm going to do is going to be 1970s. What colour have I used? I've not used the pink one yet. Let's do the Civil Rights Act. Civil Rights Act. And I know that was in 1964. And let's do one, again, good job this is just for me and I don't mind it being all kind of messy like that. And let's do one from the 1970s. Let's do Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade, which is to do with making abortion legal in America, and I know that happens in 1973. Right, so you would obviously do this for a lot more of the events. I've just done a couple of these quickly to show you. And remember, I said it's all about, if I just kind of mix these up a second, it's all about knowing the order in which events came in first. All right, knowing the actual specific dates is something that we work up to. All right, there'll be some that you know the dates for anyway, which is great, and it's bound to be something that your teachers are testing you on anyway, but it's about at first knowing the order in which the events happen. So I've kind of shuffled up the cards that I've got here. This is how we start now to do the process. First of all, you've written down your list of all the different dates. Okay, we've created the cards. Obviously you'll create more, but these are just here to show you. Then I kind of shuffle them up, and the first thing I need to do, just to check for a second that they're all just facing me with the name of the event and that's it, is I need to put them in the right order. Okay, now the first thing I know how to do is I know how to, let me see if I can move this down now, because I could actually do with a bit more space. Okay. Oh, hopefully that will zoom in a little bit better shortly. The first thing is where I've colour coded them, I can match them up in terms of what decade they're in. So there we go, green for that one, those blue ones go together, the pink ones go together, and the orangey ones go together there. Next, I need to remember what the different colours represent. So I know 1920s is in red, I know 1930s is in green, then I know 40s is in orange, blue for 1950s, and then 1960s just at the end there. Oh, that's not particularly clear. Let me see if I can bump that up a little bit. There we go. Well, that's a little bit better, isn't it? So straight away, I've got kind of them in order of the decades themselves. Then I can look at the cards within the decade and think, right, are they the right way round? Which one happened first? So was the Wall Street crash before Sacco and Vanzetti was executed? Okay, so I can swap them round like that. Was the election of FDR before the Second New Deal? Okay. And was the end of World War II before Pearl Harbor? Well, obviously, no, it wasn't. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense, would it? Okay, here we go. Let's say I'm just going to demonstrate here. Sorry, just going to go along here because I haven't got enough table to show you here. Let's imagine that I think those two go the right way round, that way round, and then I'm going to do those two at the end. Imagine I've got myself a little timeline here. Now, what can I do to check that I've got them in the right order? Very simple. Literally, just turn them over. Okay, literally just turn them over and I can look at the dates from there. 1932, 36, December 41, August 45, 1957, whoop, 1954, wrong way round. Let's rearrange them. And then the last two here, 73 and 64. All right. It's all about testing yourself. Once you've made the cards, you can test yourself. All right. So again, I can mix them up. All right. I turn them around, blah, blah, blah. Again, trying to do it as quick as I can just to show you. Remember, you'll have a lot more cards than I have. All right, so here we go. Sacco and Vanzetti executed, Little Rock, Brown versus Board. Just getting them into the right decades, so tuning them up in terms of their colours. End of World War II, Civil Rights Act, that one there. There we go. Then within their decades, I'll get them, I'll get it into the correct order. So again, because I've literally just done this, this is kind of at the top of my mind. I know that those two go first, then those two, then, then it's those two, followed by, now I got these two the wrong way around last time, so I'm going to get them the right way around this time, and followed finally by those ones. How do I check if I've got them right? We turn them over. All right, here we go, da-da-da, and so on, and you get the point. All right, so that's one way you can use them. I'm not going to turn around the rest of them, otherwise I'll be here all day. Here's another thing that you can do. Actually, I will turn around the rest of them because I wanted to do it this way now. And this is kind of like a little bit more advanced, but it would be to essentially pick one at random. We'll go with this one, and seeing, can you remember what happened on that date? Try and test yourself, look at it. Now, the reason I said about card rather than paper is that the card doesn't, if I kind of bring this nice and close, I can't read through the other side. Okay, I can't read through the other side as to what the answer is. Whereas if it was paper, that might be able to do that. But if all you've got access to is paper, then so be it. When you get back to school, I'm sure someone at school will be able to, like your history teacher, I'm sure will be able to give you a couple of pieces of card and everything. And so anyway, like I said, have a look. Can I remember what is that date? Well, I know it's in the 1940s. Maybe I might produce myself another list of all the dates that I came up with, but I might take the dates out and I might just look at the 1940s ones and go, right, which one does it match with? Is it the bombing of Pearl Harbor? Turn it over. Yes, it is. All right. So again, the color coding helps me with that in mind. Now, this might seem really crazy for me to say, but there will come a point where this kind of card sort is going to be too easy for you. And that is where, remember I said earlier that we divided our cards into 2 separate piles, that is where you are going to need the other pile. All right, so I'm going to bring my other pile of cards back here. Oh, white on white is really not working very well, is it? I'll remember that for future reference. Now, do you remember I said as well, when we were picking our colours to do these cards with, I said don't pick anything like black or grey. And that is because you are going to now need them, a black or grey colour, for the card sort you are going to create. You are now going to create your challenge card sort. So there will come a point, like I said, when this kind of starter sort, is going to become way too easy for you. And that is when you are going to produce them just literally in black and white. All right. And so you don't have the colour coding there for the decades. So I'm just going to really quickly, here we go. So end of World War II in August 1945. There we go. So notice, same as before, event on the front, date on the back, but just in like black and white. Wall Street crash is the next one. I'm just going to do WSC because of time. 29th of October 1929. Again, doesn't matter that it's in a different decade. This is the challenge sort, so they're just going to be in this kind of black and white. Again, look at the size of these cards. They're all random sizes. It doesn't matter though, because it's just you who is going to use them. Actually, even if it wasn't just you who's going to use them, it's not the end of the world that they're all different sizes. And that I know Brown versus Board there was in 1954. Okay. I'll just do 2 more. I'll do one from the Civil Rights Act. Oops, wrote that a bit too big. Civil Rights Act, which is 1964. And let's have a look. So I've got a 20s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I need a 30s one. Let's do FDR's election. FDR election. All right, and I know that was in 1932. So the deal now is, so imagine you've done all of your other cards just in those plain colours. So compared to last time, all right, where they were all kind of colour coded for the decades, now they're all exactly the same. And this is going to be a little bit more challenging. So can I get these events in the right order without knowing what decade they happened in? So I'm going to get this wrong on purpose. All right, everybody, I'm going to get this wrong on purpose. So let's say that I know, well, Wall Street crash is right at the beginning. So these are the ones I've got. I'm going to say that the end of World War II happens, then it's FDR's election, Brown versus Board, and then the Civil Rights Act. Maybe I might do that the other way around, actually. Perhaps we'll see them a little bit better. There we go. I'll do it like that. Okay, so I've tested myself in that way. How do I know if I've got them right? You turn them over. Okay, turn them over and you see the dates there. Okay, well, they're definitely after each other. What about this one? Oh, no, that one's in the wrong place. Let's turn the rest of them over. Oops. Okay, they're all right, but clearly those 2 I need to swap around. All right, again, shuffle them up and do exactly the same. This is kind of tough with just 4 of them, and obviously you'll have a lot more, but it's all about this idea of repeating yourself and of challenging yourself as well. All right, so Civil Rights Act, Wall Street crash, Brown versus Board, end of World War II, FDR's election. That's got them in the right order, I hope. How do I know? We turn them over and we check the dates on the other side, although it's very fiddly to pick these up, apparently. There we go. Good. Got those the right way around this time. 54 and 64. Okay, so you've got your starter pack in the different colours with them all kind of colour coded depending on what decade they are. And then you've got your challenge pack where you've got them in just one colour. So this is a bit more challenging because, like I said, there will definitely come a point where this gets too easy. And that's when you want to move on to this. Let's talk a little bit about storage of the cards. And this is where you're going to need some of these. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but like a sandwich bag is pretty useful. Or you can have some envelopes as well, these little ones. I think I bought these like little ones in somewhere like Wilkinson's for like 30p or something like that. And essentially you want to be able to keep the cards in the right places. So let's do an example of the envelopes are here. So here's one envelope. Here's all my starter cards for America. In they go. Turn it over and I'll write on the front America, whoops, America dates starter pack. All right. So I've got them all in there, good to go. And then on this, in the other envelope, I can chuck my challenge ones in there. There we go. And label it accordingly. So America, dates, challenge pack. All right. So America, dates, challenge pack. So I've got those there. All right. So I know exactly where they are if I want to use them. Okay, they're all good to go. I might even be so fancy as to hole punch them and put them in a folder if I wanted to. All right, so they're there, easily transportable as well. When I was practicing this yesterday, because, yeah, believe it or not, there is some thought that goes into putting these together. I had to go with doing some medicine ones. So here's some I made earlier again, and I chose to put them in sandwich bags, which I haven't labelled, but I can do. All right, so if I just open these up. Is it open already? Yes, it is. Here we go. So these are my ones that I made for medicine. Here we go. So these are my starter packs there. Obviously I had a little bit more time on my hands yesterday, so I did a couple more. There we go. Cool. Just turn that one over. There we go. So I've got orange for medieval, blue for Renaissance, green for industrial, and pink for modern. And exactly the same. Event on the front, date on the back. 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 All right, and it just works in exactly the same process. And I think for medicine, doing it this way is really good because it helps you to understand what happens in which time period. And by doing it with the colour coding, you can help by sorting it into it. And again, it starts off by writing your list of the dates. Your teachers can help you with this. All right, but the best thing you can do is, rather than just going to your teacher saying, can I have a list of all the dates from the medicine course, is actually write it yourself. This is part of the revision. Okay, and again, much like my list, if I just go sideways, you'll notice there are some that I don't have specific dates for. I would need to go away and find out what they were, but there are some that I can remember off the top of my head. Okay, so there's a medicine one, for instance, and you do exactly the same as you would have done with the America ones. Let me pop these back into their little sandwich bag. All right, there we go. And these are great as well because I like the idea that I like them in the bags because you can shuffle them round. There we go. I know you can see this, but I'm not looking now. I'm looking up at my wonderful ceiling. I'm just going to pick one out at random. Okay, and what have I got? Oh, Great Plague. Okay, and because I've picked it out this way around, I need to see, can I remember what was the date of the Great Plague? Okay, I know it's on the other side of this card, but because I've done it in card, I can't actually read it. The Great Plague, was it in 1348? Oh, no, it wasn't. It was in 1665. Curses. I did that on purpose. I know the Great Plague was, just saying. And let me see if I can do it the other way around. Okay, so I am going to actually have a look at one of these this time. Or let's go for this one. Okay, so this time, say I pulled it out with the date facing me. 1848. Right, what happened in 1848? Was it the first Public Health Act? Yes, it was. Okay, so it's all about testing yourself and all about that repetition. And just like, so they are in my little sandwich bag there. Just like the America, I've got a starter pack, and I literally never know how to open these stupid bags. And I've got a challenge pack as well. So rather than with them colour coded for the different time periods, I've got them there just in black and white. Okay, there we go. And finally, before we kind of start to wrap up, I have got absolutely tons of the cards just blank. And what I would do is I would have a bag that literally just has the blank cards inside. And the reason I would do that is a lot of you are going to be creating these revision resources for these cards after you've studied them. So for instance, you're going to be putting together your America cards after you've studied America, say, and your medicine ones when you finish doing America. But when it comes to starting a new topic, if you're kind of really thinking, this is something I want to do, is have a bag of, or an envelope of the blank cards ready to go. And as you learn about them, create the card sort from there. So for instance, at the moment, if you're taught by me, we're learning about the Treaty of Versailles. I would get 2 cards. I would do 1 challenge card and 1 starter card for Treaty of Versailles. And then I'd put them into either their envelopes or their respective sandwich bags, and I would just be collecting it as I went along, and then they're pretty much ready to use then. And you might be thinking, oh my gosh, well, this is going to take ages. Do you know what took the longest time? Cutting up all of these cards. And do you know what? I literally just sat in front of the telly and I did it whilst I was watching something on telly. That's not when I cut my thumb, incidentally. I was a lot safer when I was cutting them out. But again, they don't have to be perfect. Like, there are so many different sizes and everything. It really doesn't matter. So have a stash of blank ones. So you've got them there for when you start doing your new topic, and you can start to make the cards as you go along. And obviously there's nothing wrong with making them retrospectively. So there's my medicine ones, and there are my America ones there. So that would be my advice regarding that. One last thing is, and forgive me, this could be super patronising and you know this already, but if you haven't got access to a sandwich bag or like an actual envelope, you can take a piece of paper and actually make an envelope for yourself by, here we go, oh, this feels very Blue Peter, folding it in half and then folding in at the sides, just here. All right, and then you have got just like a little pocket that you can use if you are able to, and actually kind of like fasten these down somehow. Sometimes people staple them, maybe just like a little bit of glue or something, then you'll have that a lot more secure. But then you've actually just got like a pocket that you can put them into. So if you haven't got access to a sandwich bag, and again, it doesn't have to be like a Ziploc one, that they just happen to be the ones I had to hand. I think they actually came from when I was organising my wedding. And it doesn't have to be like an actual envelope. You can literally just make an envelope yourself like that to keep them into. And there you have it. Remembering dates, I wish was a matter of just waving a magic wand, but sadly it's not. It is all due to challenge and repetition. And hopefully I've proven to you today, through creating the card sorts, be it the challenge ones or the starter ones, that it doesn't take forever. The first thing you want to do is come up with a list of the dates that you need. Get your teacher to check them if you're not feeling too confident, especially like I've got here. Like I said, I've got gaps. I would need to go away and actually learn what they were. Come up with your list, know what the dates are. And yeah, I'm sorry, and well, partially sorry, but history is about dates. But remember, it's not about learning the dates off by heart straight away. The first thing you want to get in your brain is, what order do the events happen in? For instance, do you know that the bombing of Pearl Harbor happens before the end of World War II? Do you know that the Brown versus Board of Education case happens before the Civil Rights Act? Get them in their right order first. Then, once you've got that happy in your brain, that's when you want to start testing yourself and challenging yourself with starting to learn the dates. The only way that they will go into your brain is if you give your brain a workout. Okay, that's how your memory gets stronger, by making your brain do the work. So many people in the past I have seen try to revise by literally opening a book and reading what was in front of them. Okay, and just kind of hoping it would go in through osmosis. Hands up, I used to be a person like that, and it did not work. There is such a small percentage of knowledge you retain from just looking at the words. But as soon as you start doing something with your brain, that is how it sinks into your memory. And it won't happen the first time, it takes that repetition.
And there you have it. Lots of strong messages about how to best revise your dates there. And hopefully, if you follow some of the advice, it will help you to remember at least some of the significant dates that you need to be aware of. Thank you for watching. Like I said, I hope it was useful for you. Feel free to like the video. It gives me a good indication of the kind of content that's being done, which is working for you guys. And if you'd like to subscribe so you can get notifications of when new videos are uploaded, please hit the subscribe button. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at One History Help. And you can also find me on Facebook as well if you search for One History Help. Thanks very much, and I'll see you again very soon for another revision video with me, Mrs. O'Neill.